Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to continue teaching on the Sabbath precepts and things about the what has changed, what hasn't changed, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. I don't know how long I'll be teaching this. This may be a forever series. I don't know on the Sabbath, and we may end up calling it something later. I mean, I don't know how this is going to go, what's going to happen with this, but really, in all reality, what we've been talking about is a lot of different things. We talked about the calendar, we've talked about the days, we talked about the months, and I'm going to as time goes on here, I want to get into a study just on the months and things that God established and how they there was no names for months. I think more or less the Jews gave names to the months. It wasn't really God. I don't think. I'm not real clear on that yet. I've not got into no real deep studying on that. But the months were. I don't think they were named. In other words, if you think about the month of Tammuz, you would know that did not come from God if you do your research. And I know that month is not of the Lord. So, and why I say that is because there was a false god called Tammuz, and well, anyway, we won't get into all that right now. But anyway, I will say that there was a false god. Yeah, we'll get into that just a little bit. Just a little bit. There was a false god, and that they worshipped in the Old Testament. There, not the Old Testament. We'll say the first the Old Covenant. In other words, there was a lot of covenants in the Old Covenant. The last covenant that was established under the law with the people of Israel, and anyone that actually wanted to follow after it could become a proselyte Jew. And I've tried to explain that. There's a whole lot more. I probably will do a series, or not a series, but a teaching completely on what a proselyte is. We're going to do we need to get some real good notes together and get a good format together and teach on that. But there's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about in this series, and we're going to continue to magnify the Sabbath in this series. And just say today is the Sabbath, or today is the third day of the week, or whatever, third day of the month, second day of the week. And the new moon was on Saturday, actually, which was really cool. And but and good coffee. I love coffee. I would get into all that. I love coffee, different types of coffee. I like really rich types of coffee, really bold types of coffee. And sitting here drinking a cup of coffee while I make my video is really nice, actually, to enjoy that. It's about 9:26 a.m. where I'm at today. It's the on the Gregorian calendar. It's the 12th month, which would be December 13th, 2015, and it's 9:26 a.m. Central Time, where I'm recording from. And so that anyway, getting back to what I'm talking about here, the bottom line is that what I wanted to say is that living this system is really not an easy thing to do. I want to tell you that, because if you're working in the world system like this Sabbath is going to be on a Saturday, and it changes every month, because I believe that let's go ahead and finish that thought, because I got so much I want to say today. It's really exciting. Saturday is really comfortable because the rest of the world operates on Saturday, and I'm not saying that I want to participate in the world things. God said not to bring the things of the world, or the other gods or the other nations to the Israelites. He said, don't bring those things before my face. People think it's okay and in saying that, people think it's okay to celebrate Christmas and Easter and all those things. It's really not. It really, if you do the research on how Christmas and where it came from, there's a lot of history there, and a lot of information about that. A lot of things about Easter. You know, people are way off on the dates as far as when Christ was born. You can prove out of the scriptures what month it was or what time of the year it was anyway, as far as the season goes. And you can pretty much, if you took, you could get really, really, really close and almost go right down to the day almost if you went backwards in time. And even following the Lord's system, you could go back in time because you could follow the phases of the moon, because we have a lot of scientific tools now that we can use, which is really a blessing. But God did not want us following after those tools. It's convenient to have them. Thank God for those, and thank God for technology. And sometimes I have to use them whenever certain things are going on. I do use those tools. I have different things downloaded on my computer that I use to know when the new moon is, if it's cloudy outside or something like that's going on. Now, in all reality, there are dark phases of the moon. Sometimes the dark phase of the moon lasts for a couple of days, and when you're following the moon, you sometimes you don't see the new moon for a couple of days, and there's times to watch for the new moon. And if the end of the month has come and you're keeping up with it and you're keeping everything, the month will always end in 29 or 30 days. Also, the Jews would also sometimes there would be an extra month every so many years. We'll talk about that a little more in depth later. They would have to add an extra month, which would cause the year to have 13 months instead of 12. So there was reasons for that because of the way that things worked. And and it's not, and people, when you're following after a system that like we have now, we're probably we could be as much as 2 months off as far as the time, the way that things fluctuate when you look at them. And in other words, like outside today, it's December and it's going to be 72 degrees today. It was 72 degrees yesterday. And some of that's due to I don't know what all the details are about it. The end of the world is definitely closer than it was. And when you go outside and you experience that December weather, when I was a kid, this time of year, a lot of times there'd be 7 inches of snow on the ground, and would already be getting pretty cold right about now. And so we know then that things are changing. But what me and my brother have done some research into how the days could be off as much as 6 weeks to 8 weeks off as far as the seasons go, and because they don't follow the correct seasons, they don't follow the correct how everything should be going. In other words, if you follow the system that God established, you won't get out of those seasons. You'll be in them, and you can follow them. They actually, I think that even the Farmer's Almanac is closer to the truth about the seasons than any other thing that I know. But they will also be off if they're following only the solar calendar, and that's what the Gregorian calendar is. It follows the sun, and the sun was to mark the day, which was the daylight time, and the year, and the moon was to mark the night and the months. And so what we've done is now what the Gregorian calendar, what they did with it was they took that and they only put us on a solar calendar, which was for days and years. They left out the nights. So you should have a lunar solar system along with the stars. There are things that you can look at and be a part of. I'm sorry about the distraction of me jerking my head around looking at that clock. I apologize for that. I'm trying to break that habit. Trying to keep up with time is not a good thing to do when you're trying to record a video. So I apologize. But anyway, in those systems, see, we have to have we have to follow the stars. We can follow the stars, and we can find what season it is by looking at the stars. You don't have to have someone tell you what season it is if if you understand how the stars work and you follow after the stars. And and I'm not an astrologer by no means. Daniel actually taught these things in Babylon, and people do believe that that's how the Magi, when they saw the star, they understood how to follow that out of his teaching, which I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. That's what I probably should watch what I say, what I've been heard, but I've heard that and heard that taught before, and it could be possible that he did teach those. But I know he did teach in schools about the stars and the heavens and the system that God did establish. And I do know that a lot of people misunderstand a lot of things about how things were supposed to be going as far as the system that God created in the first place. But a lot of people want to say, it's really amazing if you really wanted to. The first day in creation could actually be the new moon day. It, it could represent it. It's not necessarily true because God, there was no moon and there was no moon and sun in the heavens. There was nothing. It was total darkness. And when God said, "Let there be light," we'll see, and it says, "And there was light." That was the beginning of creation. Well, when it going down to Genesis 1:14 there, and God said it was, I think, on the fourth day. And there's a significance to the fourth day. He said, "Let the stars and the sun and the moon be put in their places, and let the greater light rule the day and the lesser light rule the night." And see, there's where you get your lunar solar system from, is following those two put together, and you'll get where you follow the nights and the days. As far as the moon goes, the moon governs the night, and it also governs the days of the month. And so the month system was created by the lunar, which would be the moon, and that's how all that works. When you see in the New Testament where it says that don't let anybody judge you and following new moons and Sabbaths and all that, well, the bottom line was Paul wasn't saying don't let anybody judge you for not following. He was saying don't let anybody judge you for following them. And if you read that in context, you'll see that that is what he's talking about. And if you knew what Paul followed, he still observed all of the feast. Even after he followed the feast, and there's proof of that all the way throughout the New Testament. Different times things are mentioned. They're not as prevalent, but there was no indication that anything should have stopped. You see, nothing should have stopped, but in the Council of Nicaea, I think that's right. I hope I got that right. But anyway, I think it's Nicaea. Apologize if it's not. I don't want to be quoted on that I'm saying that. But that's where, what is his name? Constantine. Yeah. He was the one who decreed that we should no longer follow the Jews and their system, and that happened in the Council of Nicaea. Now, Philip Scoff actually quotes some of that stuff about that in his history of the church. He has a set of books. I think I don't know how many there is in it. I've not really tried to keep up with that, but I know there's at least 9 or 10 volumes in this set of church history. And that church history, he starts in the New Testament and he takes it all the way through into the Nicene period, on and on and on and on. He talks about all the things that took place during those times, and he's one of the best as far as church history goes. He's one of the best. He's one of the best. I think I have a collection of his church history on him. And there's a lot of different places you can find things. A lot of things you would have to search out in Europe and Rome. There are things in history written there that no one has bothered to take out of history, and how Constantine did what he done, um, and all that, But anyway, staying focused here, I uh, wanted to continue clarifying a few things as we go. I want you to know that by no means do I have all the answers. And you'll notice that I will say I really don't know, or I don't have a clue about that. That's the way it ought to be. See, we're not magnifying. We're not here to magnify ourselves. Paul said that he was educated, really educated. He was very. A lot of people think that when Paul says, "I speak in tongues more than you all," a lot of people thinks that it's like tongues that some kind of weird thing that he did. Let me tell you something. That wasn't some kind of weird thing he did. It wasn't about speaking in a gibberish, gibber. It was actual languages that he was talking about. Paul was a very educated man, and so um, he was magnifying the fact, not not because he was magnifying himself, he was magnifying the fact that he did know a lot of different languages. And so we need to understand something. He was trying to get them to realize humility and having a gift that was allowing them to speak in different languages, but they didn't even know them. And I have identified one of the things that one of the languages I speak in one of the languages that I speak in is actually Russian, and it's pretty cool at times. I found a way to translate that, and it's pretty cool sometimes how we speak out of that language and say things. And I'll really be honest with you. That's a gift of the Spirit. Now, that's not people take it and do many things with it, but it was an identifying mark to where the Christians were like. In other words, at first it started out with Jews, okay, and then Paul was to be the one that took the gospel to the Gentiles. Okay, now we need to realize this. And then when he took the gospel to the Gentiles, the identifying thing that was so prevalent was the fact that the Gentiles spoke in tongues as well, and that was the sign that they had received the Spirit of God. I don't think that's the only sign that we need to have, and people try to use that to prove that they have the gift of the Holy Ghost. Now, I don't think we need to be doing that. I think we need to be asking God for the filling of the Holy Spirit, and then allow whatever happens to happen. And so, and quit trying to magnify one thing or the other. But a lot of times in the scriptures, because of the situations, I believe their tongues were used to show that, and to bring proof that God was with the Gentiles. But anyway, going on, talking about the days and the months and things. Anyway, I don't want to continue magnifying the days and the months in this video. I think I said enough about that for now. We'll go along and we'll talk more about different things. But here's what I want you to know: is it's not easy. It's not easy being following this system. I know it's not. I live it. I walk it every day. And so I want to try to end this video within a few more. I got about 50 seconds here, and I'm going to end the video. But the bottom line is that in talking about these things, we're going to talk about a lot of different things in this video series. We're going to try to establish a lot of things, magnifying the Sabbath, magnifying the system that God established, magnifying what the New Testament says about it, magnifying the next video, what I really want to talk about is what changed and what did not change. You understand what I'm saying there? What changed from the old covenant to the new covenant? What did not change? And one of the things I have to let you be thinking about is, well, it's actually time to stop the video. Thanks for watching today. I'll talk to you the next time. You have a good one.